Please welcome those two dedicated women, Patricia Leger and Deborah Carr.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. We've been asked to speak on, Deb and I, on behalf of the Clean Energy Alliance, formerly referred to as the Anti-Shale Gas Alliance, to provide a little bit of information and context to what's happening locally beyond the events in Kent County this summer. Somebody else will speak about that a bit later. Pour les francophones dans la salle, si vous désirez avoir une présentation en français sur les gaz de schiste, vous pouvez venir à la table de l'Alliance dans l'entrée après la présentation de ce soir. So in the last few years, we've seen a lot of groups pop up, a lot of community groups, out of concern about shale gas development. And many of these groups, a few years back, formed an alliance so that we could share ideas and research, collaborate, strategize. The Clean Energy Alliance represents 29 community groups and organizations. Our mission statement is to promote sustainable energy and to stop the exploration and development of shale gas in New Brunswick, unconventional shale gas and oil. The people that are in the Alliance are all kinds of people. We have farmers, fishermen, biologists, researchers, artists, all kinds of people that work together. And for the first time, Anglophones, Francophones, and Indigenous peoples are united with a common cause. I can tell you that it's fascinating, informative, and inspiring to be around people with all different expertise and talents working together. I just would like to mention, I'm not going to enumerate everything that we've done because we want to get to the main event, but a few things to give you an idea of what we do. I mean, many of the T-shirts and the signs you've seen pop up come from different groups in the Alliance. We've had manned booths at the market. We've responded to press releases put out by the government. We've had press conferences ourselves. And one of the things we did recently, when the Cleary, our chief medical officer's report came out, it wasn't going to be made public. So it was pressure from the Alliance that had this made public. And of course, yeah. This report on the impacts on health won a national award as well for Irish Cleary. And another thing that we've done that I think it's important to mention is that we've presented to our town councils, our village councils, on this issue, and in turn they've passed resolutions to ask for a moratorium or bans. There's over 70 communities that are represented in this group of people asking for a moratorium. But a lot of people don't know that that doesn't necessarily protect us. It needs to be granted on a provincial level, and that's one of the reasons that we're all collaborating together. There's other organizations as well that are asking for moratoriums, and if you go to the WEPAC website, Water and Environmental Protection for Albert County, it's a really good website and there's things changing all the time, but you can find a list of the organizations that have asked for a moratorium. And among them are doctors from the 3 main hospitals in this area, and also the New Brunswick College of Family Physicians. Yeah. So another thing that's happening just this next Sunday that I'd like to mention is that we have a booth at the Shediac Market, so does the Conservation Council of New Brunswick, and there's such a thing called the talking tree, and no, it's not a tree that talks. It's in a wonderful atmosphere, the outdoor market, and there's a tree behind all the kiosks, and that's where there's different 20-minute talks that are about what people are passionate about. And so we'll have Jim Emberger, our wonderful Jim Emberger, that will speak about whether regulations will protect us. We have Angie LeGraley, a physician in a local hospital, that'll talk about why she's interested in this issue. Et moi-même, je vais parler comme la francophone qui va parler de mon cheminement et qu'est-ce que j'ai appris en étant active dans le mouvement. So now I'm going to read you the two efforts we're concentrating on right now. Through NB Water First, one of the groups, we are seeking a court injunction against the government of New Brunswick for failing to prevent the probability of environmental, social, and health problems caused by unconventional hydro-fracking for oil and gas. To date, we've raised $65,000 of $100,000 needed to go before the courts. Yeah. So I can't see you if I leave these on. Time is of the essence, so I hope you'll drop by the NB Water First table on your way out and either ask questions or contribute. And you can also do it online at the NB Water First website. The second initiative is a public education campaign. The government of New Brunswick has been quick to claim the potential revenue and jobs that could result from shale gas production. However, government has failed to inform us about the well-documented environmental, social, and health problems and the economic cost created by the industry in other jurisdictions. So the Clean Energy Alliance is now developing a public education campaign to provide New Brunswickers with accurate, peer-reviewed research about the negative impacts, and to point out the positive economic, environmental, and social future for New Brunswick that is offered by alternatives to shale gas. So now I'll pass you over to Deborah, who will talk to you about some of the local situation.
I have to tell you that this is what happens when somebody comes and drills an oil well in your neighborhood. A year and a half later, you end up as the opening act for Maud Barlow at the Capitol. So. I invite you all to get involved because you have no idea what you might end up doing. So as Patricia alluded to, there have been some heavy protests in Kent County, and anybody who has been awake in New Brunswick this past summer will be quite well aware of that. But perhaps what is not quite so well known is the fact that Swin Resources, who is doing the seismic testing up there, also holds leases to the northeast and northwest of Moncton. And although Moncton City Council has passed resolutions asking for a moratorium within the city limits and within the vicinity of the Turtle Creek watershed, and yes, yay, Moncton Council, and the other watersheds serving the city, it is up to the Minister of Energy, Mines and Resources to whether he will or will not overrule those wishes. So that means theoretically drilling could take place anywhere with anybody, within anyone's boundaries. So while Swin is exploring in Kent County, Elgin and Penobscot already have shale gas wells, and the companies that are operating there have plans for further development. That same shale play that is in under the ground in Sussex and Penobscot area extends under the Turtle Creek watershed towards Stony Creek and Hillsborough, and then under our beloved Petitcodiac River to Memramcook. So that's sort of the length of it. Corridor Resources, who holds the leases in Penobscot and Elgin as well, has suggested that in terms of gas concentrations, that shale play is the largest known shale play in North America. So I did a little research on it, and I compared it to the Marcellus in Pennsylvania, which was sort of made famous by the movie Gasland. And our shale is, at its thinnest, our shale is 12 times thicker than the Marcellus. So for me, who I live on top of it, that scares me. Considering that there are thousands of wells in Pennsylvania, the potential for industrialization of our landscape here is huge. In Stony Creek and my own village of Hillsborough, and incidentally, both of those are included in the UNESCO Bay of Fundy Biosphere Reserve. we have another company called Contact Exploration. It's a company out of Alberta, and they currently have approval to bring up to 35 old and new gas and oil wells into production in Stony Creek and surrounding Hillsborough. They're also awaiting licenses to drill 4 more oil wells. The village of Hillsborough just happens to sit on a significant reservoir of oil, and underneath that is the Shale. So we're a prime location for both oil and gas extraction. Drilling and fracking for oil uses less water because it's in sandstone, but it's subject to the same risks as fracking for gas. And right now, my own village has well pads on 3 sides. So you can see why I'm involved. In fact, one recent oil well, which is the one that caught my attention, was drilled about 1.5 kilometers from our main and backup village water wells, and we had to drill 35 wells in order to get good viable village water. So it concerns the whole village, and our village has asked for a moratorium as well. No less than 3 government officials on 3 different occasions have said, you have nothing to worry about. If there happens to be a spill, any contamination, because of the lay of the land, will drain away from your village water wells. What they didn't say after that was the other direction of the private wells and the Petitcodiac River. So that did not comfort us at all. Each well site, most of you probably know, requires significant truck traffic. That's tanker trucks and flatbeds required for the construction of well pads, as well as transporting fresh water, sand, chemical, and wastewater to and from the site. In our case, this traffic was probably going to feed through the city of Moncton and Riverview. So there's one highway down to Hillsborough, and it's the same highway that goes to Fundy National Park, and it's the same highway that's a major tourism route. So when you throw in the mix of hundreds or thousands of trucks traveling that, you can imagine what that might do to our tourism. You can imagine what that might do to those of you who like to escape the heat of the city in the summer and head down to where the air is cool and fresh and gorgeous in Elbert County. And did I mention lease areas in Sackville and Dorchester as well? So with potential development areas to the north, west, and south of Moncton, it's going to be difficult to get into the city from any direction without passing through a well-filled area. And literally hundreds of oil and natural gas wells have been drilled in communities surrounding Moncton since 1859. We often hear about our historic oil past. And that includes Stony Creek, Memramcook Dover, the Shediac Road, Coles Island Road areas. And it's well documented that fault lines and old abandoned wells can be conduits for methane leaks. And so a great number of those old wells have never been properly plugged and abandoned. As the government has not mapped our aquifers, so we have no idea what areas, if they are affected, or what areas could be affected by any contamination that might occur. So you see, this is not just a rural issue. Our government has leased lands that include many of our recreational rivers, portions of Grand Lake, all around Shediac, our coastal areas, our wetlands, the forests where we hike, where we bike, where we hunt. This is why we live in New Brunswick, is for all of these things. New Brunswick is a small province. This is taking place not only in my backyard, but your backyard. It's taking place in your playgrounds. It's taking place in our agricultural areas as well. It may affect the air that you breathe, the water you drink, the food that you grow in the ground. It may affect the health of your family for generations to come. So this has to be everyone's business. So I ask you to stand with us and support us and get involved and give us a hand, because we've got far too much to lose. Now I'm going to, go ahead and applaud. I gotta go home and write about this in my journal, my gratitude journal. Anyway, I'm gonna hand it over to Patricia now. My sister across the Petitcodiac.
You wouldn't think that Memramcook and Albert County, huh? Yeah, thanks to a big honking piece of shale that we share.
This is one of the side benefits.
Yes.
The government hasn't mentioned this one.
So just to conclude briefly, we want to invite anybody that shares our concern to get involved, whether it's to join a local group or support an event like this, or if you bake cookies, put up posters, translate. Oh, on a toujours besoin de la traduction, là. On va donner tous nos meilleurs biscuits aux traducteurs. Ça fait que je vous invite de nous joindre encore à la table de l'Alliance à l'entrée. And I just wanted to say that it's hard sometimes to face what we're facing right now, but one of the rewards is this whole network of friends that you get, and you have places to stay in a snowstorm all around the province. And also, like, you know, you end up in communities that you barely knew existed, and they're beautiful, and you get to know the people and everything, and you really start to feel like the whole province is like your hometown. So I encourage you to get involved. Thank you.
I got so elated about standing up here in front of you all and claiming my moment to fame. I forgot to thank Charles Doucette. He compiled a lot of the information and the research on Stony Creek far before I got involved. And this is another one of the things that we do in the Alliance is some people do research and others contribute and we just share information. So thank you, Charles, for all of your work.